What up, what up, what up? Travis here, coming from the Forge Athlete Gym. I just wanted to do a live video here. I'm talking about food quality. Got a lot of different athletes in the gym that have asked about food quality as of late. And we're actually starting up a 6-week challenge here inside the gym that's pretty much revolving around nutrition. And so I thought this was something that needs to be spoken about because it is important, but you know, is it as important as most people think? And when people think about food quality, one of the things they think about is like a super clean diet. Paleo diet obviously comes up to mind. And just to kind of share my story, looking back years ago, when the paleo diet really gained some big buzz, and it was like the end all be all magic diet, so to speak. And so like a lot of things that I do, I jumped all in with the paleo diet. So I went 100% in, cut out dairy, cut out processed foods, cut out sugar. And at first it was good. I can definitely tell the benefits in regards to like the energy I felt, but performance wise, my performance, it kind of inclined when I first switched over, obviously because the quality of food that I was eating was way much better than I was eating before. I cut out a lot of processed crap that I was eating, and I was actually eating a lot of dairy before that as well. And so cut all that stuff out, went full paleo, felt good, performance was good, but my physique actually it declined. I actually got a little chunkier, a little bit thicker. Definition wasn't where I wanted it to be, and to me at the time it just didn't make sense because I was eating so clean. I just didn't understand why my body wasn't looking better, why I wasn't actually leaning up, and I was actually gaining weight and putting on, it seemed like I was putting on fat, even with all the training I was doing and all the clean eating I was doing. So it really got me thinking, and I continued on with paleo for a good year, but I would say for a good 8 months I was 100% clean paleo. So I wasn't eating, I would not eat anything processed, and you can ask my wife, Andrea, and it almost, it was hard to deal with, right? So for people when they go paleo, they kind of get into that mindset like, okay, I can't have any type of cheat meals, like sugar's totally bad, and if I have it, then my diet's wrecked, right? And so mentally, it's really hard to get into something like that and have it be sustainable without you just, being stressed out all the time. And so that was one of the things that I was finding to be difficult when I went over to a strict paleo diet. And when all was said was done, the biggest piece that I was missing out on was actually paying attention to how much food I was actually taking in, right? So my food quality was super high, but at the end of the day, I was probably taking in a little bit too much, especially with the fats. And that's typically an area that I see a lot of athletes, a lot of clients that I work with fail. Is they'll come to me, hey, I'm eating paleo, my diet's clean, I'm not eating any processed foods, I've cut this out, I've cut that out, and I'll ask them, okay, how much are you taking in? And they'll have no idea. So they have no idea of where their macros are, they have no idea of where their overall calories are, and usually it's way above where they need to be. And so that's really what was happening with me. What's up, dude? And I had the whole paleo mindset, and a lot of people that go strict paleo, they'll have that mindset like, well, it's paleo, I can eat it, right? And so they won't pay attention to anything in regards to their overall calories and their macros. So they'll be blowing their fat intake through the roof. And that's pretty much where I was, because I was eating nuts and seeds all the time. Almond butter, I was taking that down like by the jars. Started eating a lot of grass-fed beef, like pretty much like three, 4 nights a week. I would grill up a big steak, eat the fat, everything, bacon, sausage, all that stuff. And so while the food quality was high, like I mentioned, which was good, I was just taking in too much. And that's where I see a lot of people dropping the ball in regards to the whole paleo. So I'm not saying paleo is bad. What can really make a difference is when you take paleo, so the principles of paleo, so eating high quality foods, natural foods, and all this different stuff, and combining that with your numbers, in particular, like your specific macros. So once you figure out where you need to be macronutrient wise, you combine high food quality in with that, you're good to go. But if you're just focusing on one thing, you're going to be missing out on another. So that brings me into basically your macronutrients, right? So what I wanted to talk about in regards to food quality, and this is going to read backwards since we're doing Facebook Live, is food quality that important? I'll go over yes and why it's not so important in some instances, and then I'll talk about some key focuses here, and I'll try to keep it short and sweet because I know you're busy and you don't have all day to sit around and listen to me talk, right? So let's get into the goods here. Why is food quality so important? So first one, it should be pretty obvious, is going to be overall health, right? Overall health. Food quality is going to definitely matter with your overall health, how you feel in regards to your food intake. So big thing here is like your immune system, right? So the higher quality food that you take in, it's going to have a higher amount of micronutrients that you're getting, that you're fueling the body with, that processed foods aren't going to give you. So that's the big difference there. So if you think, eating an apple versus, like a Pop-Tart, or, you take the breakdown of the macronutrients with an apple, and let's say it's just like half a Pop-Tart or something like that, like you're going to be getting a lot of high quality calories coming from that apple versus, the Pop-Tart might be giving you the same in regards to carbs, fiber, whatever, but it's not going to be giving you, the micronutrients that you need to help, keep your immune system sustainable, running at optimum levels and all that good stuff. So that's obviously one of the big reasons you want to keep food quality high. Another one that I would mention with this is inflammation. So that's one of the biggest differences that I could tell when I switched over to like a paleo-based diet, was like the amount of inflammation that I had that went down. And that's what I see oftentimes when I start working with a client or an athlete, and we start to cut out even like the diet pops, the processed grains, different things like that. The inflammation, the achy joints, different things like that go down. And so obviously food quality is going to be very, very important for that. If you're eating a lot of processed foods that have trans fats and vegetable oils and different things like that are going to cause a lot of inflammation, you'll definitely want to look into that factor. Another reason we want to focus in on food quality, and this is probably the most important, especially for athletes that are looking to increase their performance. Obviously, higher quality food is going to fuel you better for performance, but it's going to help you with recovery. So inflammation is one of the things that a lot of athletes have to deal with. So if they're putting in the intensity with their training sessions, they're breaking their body down, so they're going to have some natural inflammation from training. And so you're going to want to fight that inflammation with high quality foods that are going to help bring down the inflammation rather than add to it. So a lot of your processed shit is going to only cause more inflammation and push out the length of that recovery time and make it even longer. So different things that you need to think about in that regard. So if you're an athlete, your number one focus is performance. Obviously food quality is going to be one of the most important things you're going to want to focus in on. And then the last one here is just overall energy, right? So The more greens that you're eating, the more just natural, high-quality foods that you're eating, those foods are going to give you energy, right? And so there's the whole debate of being in a state of alkalinity, in a state of more kind of acidic state. So a lot of processed foods, they're going to put you in an acidic type state. So a perfect state where more inflammation is going to occur, whereas when you get more alkaline, you have more natural energy, you have a lower level of inflammation, and so that's why you do want to take in a higher amount of like greens and foods that give you energy when you eat them. A lot of people, the argument is I just can't get in fruits and vegetables and greens, and I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm not a huge fan of like eating fruit. Every now and then I'll eat fruit, but I'm not the type of person that's going to eat an apple every day, or berries or something like that. I'm pretty busy on the go all the time. Same thing with greens. I've actually cut down on the amount of greens I eat. Just over the last 6 months, I just don't eat as many. I used to have a lot of kale and mixed greens and spinach and stuff like that for salads quite often. I don't really do that too much anymore, but what I do is supplement with a greens supplement, or take in a green supplement every single day. So I am covering my bases in that regard. So I'm getting all those micronutrients that I'd get from the servings of vegetables and fruits and different things that I'm taking in. Cutting way down on the calories that I'd be taking in that regard, but I'm getting in all those micronutrients, which are super important. In return, I get that natural energy from that. Am I saying don't take in natural sources of greens and fruits? Take in a green supplement instead. Whatever works out best for your lifestyle. So if you have fruits and vegetables readily available all the time and you could get them in every single meal, great. That's what I would do. If that's not an option, I would definitely look into a solids greens drink to supplement with. So those are all the key reasons why you should have a focus in on food quality. Now on the other end of the spectrum, I mentioned overall amount of food that you should be taking in, so like your macronutrients, your specific numbers, and this is going to be different for people across the board, right? So what my numbers might look like are going to be totally different from what Coach Andy's numbers are like. He's over there, I don't know what he's doing, he's like studying or something, but depending on your goal, if you're just solely focusing on performance, your numbers are going to be a little bit different. If you're somebody that's just solely focusing on fat loss, your numbers are going to be different. And so at the end of the day, as long as you're hitting your macros, you're going to be good to go. If that is composed of all Twinkies and beef jerky and protein bars and protein shakes and whatever, and you hit your numbers at the end of the day, you will see a difference physique-wise. You will see a difference visually. Are you going to feel the best? Probably not. But I've worked with people where their food quality just isn't the highest, but at the end of the day, their main goal was to just look freaking shredded and get lean and lose fat. They didn't care about performance as much. They just wanted to look freaking good for XYZ, whether that was stepping up on stage and doing a physique show, or going to the beach for vacation. There's checks and balances that you give into there when you have a certain goal. And so at the end of the day, does food quality matter as much in that sense? Not really. And so when you look at the overall scope of things, what I want to kind of get into here next are your key focuses, right? So what do you want to truly focus in on? Should you go all in and focus on just high quality food sources? That's totally up to you. So if you want to be that person that's like 100% on, and if you have one Skittle, then your whole diet's screwed for the next year or whatever, like you have that type of mindset, totally up to you. But I would say, to be on the safe side, focus in on like 80-20 as far as high quality food goes. For me, my intake is usually about 80-20. So actually right now it's more 90-10, so I've really cleaned it up. since we got CrossFit Regionals coming up this weekend. I want to be feeling my best, and so I've cut out a lot of the processed stuff that I eat. I cut out some of the desserts that I have on the weekend, and so I'm making that sacrifice to help improve my performance and my energy and my recovery and all that good stuff. So I'm cutting back on that stuff, but 80-20 is a good just general rule of thumb to focus in on that. If you want to get a little bit more strict with it, go 90-10. But unless you're stepping up on stage, I guess this goes for like as far as like how strict you are with your intake and how close you should be on your numbers and stuff like that. If you're stepping up on stage, then things get pretty damn strict. But overall, you know, don't stress it. Don't stress it. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But as far as when, it's very, very critical to focus in on quality of food. You want to focus in on having the highest quality food before your workout, directly after your workout, and then post workout. So typically pre-workout, you want to you're thinking like 90 to 2 hours before a workout. You want those sources of fuel to be very, very high quality, very nutrient dense, foods that are going to really nourish the body versus, you know, shitty processed type stuff. You want to focus in on having a good high quality pre-workout type meal, and then post-workout is going to be more kind of liquid form calories. So like a protein powder, higher quality protein powder is going to be the best. Limited on ingredients. That's one of the first things I always look at, is how many different ingredients are in whatever it is you're taking. There's a lot of protein powders out there, and I think what a lot of people look at is they're like, how much protein is in it? I know that's what I used to look at in college. I was like, well, this one has 50 grams per serving. This one only has 20, so this one must be better, right? And that's not the case. Post-workout, most guys and females only need a good amount of about 25 grams of high quality protein. So usually just a whey protein. If your stomach doesn't handle that, then you might look into like a hemp type protein or a plant-based protein. But you're thinking 25 grams protein, and then if you're more performance-based, you want to look at about 50 to maybe even 75 grams of just quick digesting carbohydrates, like a cyclic dextrin type supplement. So like a glycofuse or a glycobomb, are a couple different ones that I use, and they're just like a straight up carb that you're going to digest super, super quick. So, and neither of those are going to have a ton of ingredients in them, so not a ton of extra ingredients. And then your post workout meal, that should be a whole foods based meal. A lot of high quality stuff in that, and typically what you're going to be having in that is just a lean protein source and a carbohydrate source. So like a sweet potato and, you know, chicken or something, you know, plain Jane like that, and then you're getting back to your stuff. But so that's when food quality is most important, is going to be before and after your workouts. And then looking at a couple other points here, something that I just like to say is the whole JERF rule. You can never go wrong when you're following JERF. So JERF stands for just eat real food. So how do you know if food is high quality? It's one ingredient food, right? Apple, chicken, spinach, white rice, sweet potato, right? You go to the store now and you get frozen vegetables. They say sweet potatoes on the package, but then you look at the package, there's like a bunch of other stuff thrown in. So you gotta watch out for that. So a good rule of thumb to follow is just the JERF rule. And then again, it doesn't have to be 100%. You're shooting for 80-20, 90-10 if you're getting a little bit more strict. But with that whole percentage thing right there, it's really there to just allow you not to stress as hard as some people stress about this stuff. So going back to when I went full-fledged paleo, I was the person that was like stressing out if I, you know, had a bite of, you know, cake or something like that. I would be like stressing out about that for, you know, hours afterwards. Like, oh shit, I just ruined, you know, months and months and months of clean eating, and I'm totally screwed. And at the end of the day, what it's all about is balance, lifestyle balance, balancing everything out. So obviously, I mean, like I talked about, different goals are going to have different type balances. So if you're somebody that's focusing more in on performance, then your food quality is going to be a lot higher. Whereas if you're focused more on physique, and you're willing to give that performance a little bit of a drop, then your food quality doesn't have to be as high, and you can still get the results that you want in regards to looking better. Are you going to feel the best at the end of the day? It just depends on how, what type of ratio that you're keeping in play here. But you can never go wrong with 80-20, and I think 20% of your total intake, you'll be able to fit in the foods that you know are kind of bad, you know, in regards to like the desserts and, you know, the processed chips and, you know, fries and shit like that. So, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Balance. That it's gonna read backwards, but where is it? Yep. So, but that's really what it's all about. And what's cool about this and how I set up people's nutrition within my fuel coaching program is we look at what your goal is. We see where you're currently at with your intake, so you track your nutrition. We got to know those numbers. We got to get that data to see kind of where you're at, because some people are way far off where they need to be. Other people are fairly close, and really what it comes down to is just dialing in on the different macronutrients. And typically what I see is people have their carbohydrates and proteins ass backwards. So the proteins are like super low, carbs are super high, and then fats are just kind of whatever. And so we flip-flop those, and people start seeing amazing results. But that's not for everybody, though. But I mean, it's really different across the board. But the main thing is you got to figure out where you're at now with your nutrition, and the only way to do that is to start tracking your nutrition. So I always say track your nutrition for a good solid 5 to 7 days, so you kind of see a trend. Most people are kind of creatures of habit. So once we kind of see where you're at nutritional-wise, intake-wise, then we can start dialing in and tweaking different numbers, getting you to where you need to be at a baseline type level. Typically takes a good week or so to help you dial in on your baseline nutrition. And then once you get that dialed in, then we can start focusing in on different food sources. So really, when I first start working with an athlete and client on their nutrition, I don't even ask them what they're taking in right away, because I want to see what their numbers are at first. Because you could be like me and be eating 100% paleo like I did years ago, and still not getting the results that you want. So at the end of the day, it really isn't all about food quality. Food quality is very, very important, but it's not the make and break factor with your results. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out, guys. That's pretty much all I had to cover. And so if you have any questions, post up on this. But if I don't see any questions come in, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. But I'm pretty damn excited. We're starting up a 6-week challenge in our gym, which is going to really focus in on people's nutrition. And so what we'll be doing with that, obviously, we're going to continue to kick ass in the gym with training, but we're going to be taking everybody individually, dialing in on their personal nutrition. So we're going to be finding out their numbers. We're going to give them a baseline set of numbers. And then what's really, really cool is after I give you a set of baseline numbers, we see how your body responds to those numbers. So a lot of people, they might start losing weight right away. They might stay the same weight, but their body composition starts changing. Or they just feel a freaking boost in energy. Because a lot of times people are not eating enough food, thinking, I'm trying to lose weight. And this could be a whole other video in itself, but people, you know, under the influence of thinking, oh, if I just cut back on my overall calories and cut my carbs real low, I'm going to lose weight, right? I'm going to lean up. That's the answer. But a lot of times people do that. They lose a little bit of weight, and then they get stuck, start screwing up their metabolism, and yada, yada, yada. Whole other discussion. But pretty damn pumped about this upcoming challenge. It's going to be kick ass. But everybody that tuned in, I hope that helps you in regards to food quality. Again, biggest thing here, don't stress if your nutrition isn't 100% perfect. If you're trying to be like 100% clean and, you know, not eat any processed foods, totally up to you. But I would recommend enjoying a piece of cheesecake here and there or a bowl of ice cream, or a candy bar, or a donut, or a slice of pizza, or whatever it may be. Just make sure it fits in the whole balance of what you're trying to do, and you'll be fine. So, but that is it. I'm going to cut out, and we'll see you in the next video. I'm out.